Righto. So it's all assembled, it's all together, and the engine runs. Let's go through a few of the finer points of how it should all be assembled and installed on the vehicle. This vehicle originally had a cold start injector, so if that is still in place, then there is a frost plug and a bolt to blank off the fuel rail, the fitting onto the fuel rail, so they can go. There's the gauge water temp sensor. Half of it was still in the loom, so that can be screwed in. If the EFI temp sensor isn't new, then just let me know. I supplied a new one, and that can be screwed in. No point putting a new engine and a new loom in it and a new computer and leaving the old temp sensor. Oil pressure sensor. Screw that into the block and it will give you proper monitoring of oil pressure using the PC link, so you'll know what the oil pressure actually is. And hopefully it's better than old Yeller. It's still within spec though. Please don't use shitty old throttle body gaskets. Let's put some new ones in. There's the bracket for the ECU. Screw that in appropriately. Power cable for the starter motor. So that goes into there. It's a bit longer than it needs to. I'm thinking it can come up and pop through the grommet with the wiring loom and then be cut shorter, and there's a crimp in there so that can be shortened to length. Starter. That goes to the starter motor. There's a starter wire goes into the starter, and you can either go to where it originally came from. There's a plug in the vehicle. It's in here somewhere. There it is. Here it is. So it's the other side of that one. If you do that, leave the other side in my loom. Just leave it over. Otherwise, you can go into this wire here, which is the start in my loom. Maybe that would be better out on its own. I might just flick that one out on its own for you, so it comes out instead of being in here. That one can get its own piece of sleeving. There's a gearbox loom. Plugs in at the back of the engine, so that's nice and easy. Over here, that should just plug into the van, and so should that. I've also run a reverse wire up into here, if you'd like it. I don't know how the reverse wires were on this vehicle. Confirm there's ignition at the ignition. Hopefully an STA start signal at the start. And there's tacho, water temp, and check engine light in that one. The fan won't be used. It's now controlled by the link. For the oil pressure loom, should be long enough into the oil pressure sensor, and that one plugs into the original one that was on the oil pressure sensor. That goes off to the light on the dash. That now controls the light. If you don't use this little loom, then you can just plug the oil pressure straight in as it was, but I'd like to see proper monitoring, and I'm sure your engine builder would too. Power supply. The white wire. It's got earth written on that side. It's got BAT written on that side. So there is that plug on in the vehicle. Alternatively, run these two up to the glow plug fuse. No longer a diesel, no longer needing glow plugs. Fan. Plug that into the fan wiring and then modify the earth. I didn't put the earth in the bottom of the plug, so you need that. For the relays and fuse box, hopefully they're going to fit in front of the battery. I've made enough length that hopefully they'll fit just fine. Relays and fuses plug into the main link loop through that plug. Easy as. Start, we've covered Link we've covered. When the link powers up, there's a little blue light on there, and the tuning cable's in the box as well. We have a OBD2 dongle, and that you can communicate with your smartphone, clear codes. I've reused the big grommet. Was a little bit untidy, but that was the one that was in this vehicle. And there's the vacuum hose coming through to the link. Wiring loom comes along the back here and goes in there. A couple of clamps hold it in, and it pops out to each of the injectors, which need to go in the correct order. So they will all be numbered as we take them off. For the air temp sensor, here or here. And please note the orientation. I wasn't sure if there's anything around here, so those are my two choices. And take the cardboard off. Good. Idle speed, it's got the same barb, so it plumbs in just the same. Because we are map censored, you could just put a filter on it, but I much prefer it going in pre-throttle body or into the air filter area as well. There is a trick to fitting the idle speed. Do it, plug it in, and then bolt it up. It'll save you some time. Crankshaft sensor down the front. I prefer to tuck it in behind. There should be room. And the coil, doesn't matter if it's a Gen 1 or a Gen 2, that wiring will reach. The noise suppressor for the coil is tucked under the manifold. Make sure you do the 2 earths. And then we've got the wiring coming out here. I've got a little bit of heat shrink that can be put appropriately and shrunk and cable tied nicely to the intake. Down to the throttle body, again secured here. And the igniter, put it on a heatsink. There'll be a piece of aluminium that may work, otherwise a suitable heatsink in the vehicle. Pretty much with the loom installed, calibrate the TPS sensor. I've set it to mine, which is a standard one. If you don't do that, you could have idle speed issues, so you need to calibrate that. And then I'd prefer if you set up your idle speed control properly. And I've got an assistant here today, and we're going to run through how to do that, but we'll put that in a separate video. Pretty basic. So once it's all done, put it in, make noise. Like this. I'll just pop my ignition on, confirm the oil light, start a motor. Oh, fuel pump. Make sure you put the fuel pump on. Rum, rum. Let's get this loom off and get it into a box. And it's all off on the bench, ready to go in a box to its new home.